Tuesday was a weird day for me. It was a weird day for all of us as Americans, but it was a particularly off afternoon for me. I scheduled a dentist appointment at 4 on Super Tuesday. I did this, and I also failed to early vote before Election Day because I'm a terrible excuse for a politically active citizen and also the reason why democracy is falling apart. When I check in at the dentist, primary election coverage is on the TV in the waiting lobby. Since Ted Cruz voted in River Oaks that day, it was all the local media could talk about. I'm smiling because I find all election media coverage ridiculous. A woman sits a few seats away from me and joins me in TV watching. She thinks it's cute that Ted Cruz probably voted for himself. I sort of smile politely. Yeah, everyone is gonna vote for themselves. But sure, haha, Ted Cruz is just so adorable. She says a few more things I can't really make out. I nod and keep my eyes on the TV to try to passively signal disinterest. Then she asks, he's Hispanic, right? I answer yes, and then add he and Marco Rubio both are. She looks back at the TV and furrows her brow. I wonder where from. I pull out of my back pocket. I can't quite remember what their heritage is, but I think Ted Cruz had dual citizenship in Canada that he revoked before running. She is absolutely fascinated by that tidbit. I want to point out that I'm assuming this woman is herself Hispanic. I learned shortly that I'm right. She is. Based on the inference, though, I assume that the bulk of her interest is in goodwill because it's kind of cool that people named Cruz and Rubio have a shot at the presidency in 2016. She wonders aloud if they're Mexican or Puerto Rican. And suddenly I remember, oh yeah, they're both Cuban actually. I still believe that I'm having a pleasant conversation about diversity in politics because I can only hear half of everything she's saying about how her parents immigrated from Mexico and, you know, how they worked really hard and saved until they were able to invest their first $250,000. And then, you know, once you got that, your first million is really easy. And they just had a really good work ethic, while most of these people who just want handouts from everybody and, wait a second, what the fuck is she talking about? It occurs to me that maybe I should try to listen more closely just so I know what I'm politely nodding along with. So, apparently, she and her family are very well off, millionaires. She is also first-generation American, and since her family was able to work hard and save, well, she doesn't understand why the families of immigrants who have been here for 7 generations haven't been able to pull themselves up yet. They all want all this assistance still, all this welfare. And you know, she used to be a teacher, but she just couldn't do it anymore because she would work with her kids' parents, and she just couldn't stand that they were all still in poverty. I mean, she, and I am quoting verbatim, absolutely hated them for it. She used the word hate to describe her attitude about the poor parents of poor kids because it must somehow be their fault that they aren't millionaires like her family. I take into account what I must look like. A small, blonde, blue-eyed woman in slacks and smiling at a news story about the Republican primary. Whoops. This woman took one look at me and inferred that she could unload all her internalized hatred onto me and believed I would reinforce that she was one of the good Mexicans. Her family did it right, and all of these poor Mexicans are just so stupid. What the woman could not tell from looking at me is that my little brother is Mexican. My mother remarried when I was 7, and so my brother is a first-generation American on his father's side. And while we were doing a little better now, when we were young, we were poor. And this woman told me that as a teacher, she looked down on her students of color whose families hadn't found a way out of poverty. It bothered her so much that she left teaching to, I don't know, do something that makes more money. I'm still stuck in this dentist lobby for however many more minutes, and I had done nothing but press my lips together and try to disengage. I didn't tell her that actually I was going to go vote for Bernie Sanders later that day in the interest of raising her parents' taxes so that my Mexican brother could go to a school that could afford teachers that gave a modicum of a shit about all of their students. I didn't say any of that. I just stared at her and imagined me saying it. The nurse called my name, and I went into the back in a daze, my stomach churning with anger at this woman and also at myself. I got my x-rays, still thinking about it, wondering if I should mention it to my nurse. I don't. I sit in the exam chair and still think about it. The dentist then came in to take a look at my teeth after a long wait. He joked that he got his dental degree from Trump University before touching my teeth and gums with sharp instruments. After an hour, the nurse asks me when I want to schedule my cleaning. I say, I thought I scheduled it for today. Apparently not, but I can wait for someone to have the time to do it. Might take another hour or so. I shake my head. No, I have to go vote. I have to leave now. I've been here for an hour and the dentist just looked at my teeth for 2 minutes. I mostly spent this surreal hour at the dentist for nothing. I book it to the polling station and make it there by 5:30. Voting's a whole thing in itself. It's crazy how at 24, I'm having to tell people who presumably attended more elections than I have how primaries work and that they work stupidly. But after that, it's smooth sailing, except my candidate lost by a landslide. Womp. All evening, I was so thrown by this woman's audacity to unload her toxic views on a stranger in a waiting lobby. I have my opinions, and maybe it's because I'm a liberal in Texas, but I keep them to myself. I wondered what might happen if I ran into her in the parking lot. I wished I had a Sanders bumper sticker that she'd see and I'd look at her. Knowingly. I wish she got a tooth pulled so I could say anything I wanted to her and she wouldn't be able to reply, her mouth full of bloody gauze. Now I just hope that the next time she decides to unload like that on an unsuspecting stranger, they're cooler and braver than I am. What made my blood boil for an evening? That made my blood boil for an evening, but what I failed to do is going to feel like a stone in my stomach for a lot longer.